So I was like 7 or 8. My dad asked me if I wanted to go to his office with him. My dad owned a heating and cooling company, and at that point I didn't know that it was failing, but he asked me to go to his office, and so as an 8-year-old I was like, yeah. For those of you who don't know, my dad's my best friend, so any chance I got to hang out with him, and any chance I get to hang out with him now, I take. And so off we headed. So we got in his car and we headed out, and we arrived. Here. So here we are. This is it, right here. This is the office building that my dad and I visited that night. And if we walk just slightly this way and turn, there's the liquor store. Now that liquor store was my favorite. I love that liquor store because every time we came here, which wasn't a ton, but every time I got to come to the office with him, I wanted to go to the liquor store. The only real reason I can remember loving the liquor store was that they had these red air horns, like compressed air, and you'd press them and they were super loud. And I liked to press them and annoy people. So that night was no exception. We finished up over there and we walked right here. So I walked in and I talked to the guys. It's not the same owners, and it looks a lot nicer than it used to. And they wouldn't let me film in there, but I did pick up one of these. Gotta love Town Club, because I'm a Michigan boy. So, you know, back in that time, I didn't ask for much. You know, like I said, I didn't know it, but my dad's business was failing. And I didn't know that, but I knew we didn't have any money. So I didn't ask for much, because it wasn't because I knew he'd say no, but it was because I didn't want to have to make him say no. I felt bad making him say no because I knew he didn't want to say no. But that night, I worked up the courage to ask for something that caught my eye. Now, the thing that caught my eye that night was a little blue locker mirror. Now, I don't know what a little blue locker mirror was doing in a liquor store, but it was. So I built up the courage and I said, Dad, can I have this locker mirror? Because I had seen my friends have them at school. I was in like 3rd grade, so I wanted to be cool like them and be able to look at myself in the mirror. And without question, he said, yeah. He was on board. So I was like, sick, God's on my side, like, let's go. Got the locker mirror, and we walked on out. So we were on our way out, and I thought, all right, this was just like every other time. But my dad had something else in mind. My dad said, do you want to do something else tonight? And I was 8, 9 years old, so I didn't have any plans. So I said, yeah, let's go. Next thing I knew, we were on the expressway. Now that was weird for one reason in particular. When I was little, we didn't really go anywhere. The furthest we went was church, which was in Plymouth, and we lived in South Lyon, which that was like a 30-minute drive. But this time, we were on a random Friday night going from New Hudson, which is right by South Lyon, to Canton, which was odd to me because it wasn't Wednesday or Sunday. So I was like, we're not going to church. Where are we going? And the answer was this little red barn. Now, this little red barn means a lot to me. More recently, because my band and I have played a few shows in here and they've been amazing nights, but more specifically because of that night. Now that night, my dad and I walked right in here, and I was surrounded by a bunch of people much older and much taller than me. And I later came to find out that it was what was called the Barn Annual Ugly Christmas Sweater Show. Now I remember being very scared right when I walked in, because all these people were bigger and older than I was, and they were essentially what I wanted to be, musicians and cool kids that were allowed to do things by themselves. And I was super scared until somebody looked at me and was like, "What's up, little man?" And it was just like that little acknowledgement of me being there and it being all right was enough to give me all the confidence in the world. Next thing you know, I'm running all around and I'm having a blast. So fast forward a little later in the night and I'm watching a band, but I can't see because I'm super tiny. And somebody I don't even know picks me up and puts me on their shoulders. And once again, it was just another one of those little gestures that allowed me to know that I was welcome. Fast forward again, even later in the night, and I caught myself staring at this guy with a camera. I couldn't stop looking at his camera, just looking and looking and looking, because I had never seen one like that. It was a really nice DSLR, and it had a nice big flash on it with a diffuser on the end. And I didn't even ask to use it, but I think he could tell because he looked down and he just handed it to me. He handed this 8-year-old his super nice, expensive camera, and I ran around taking pictures the rest of the night. Now, individually, none of those things are really a big deal, but when you look at where I am in my life now, a photographer, filmmaker, and musician, I can't help but think that I wouldn't be here without that specific night. I just think it's crazy to see such a clear example of, you know, events happening earlier in your life affecting who you are later in your life. So here we are. I'm 18 years old and I'm finally making my dreams come true. And I want to take you guys on that journey. There's so many people, so many successful people that found success and went back later and said, this is how I did it. But I wanted to scrap that model and start something new. I want to start right here, unsuccessful, 18 years old, just dropped out of college, living with my parents. And I want to take you with me so you guys can see step by step how I did it. I just need to remember that the only difference between me and the successful people that I look up to is that they've already done it. So now it's my turn to do it.